Hey guys, and welcome to another Pikmin video. Today, we'll be talking about the Pikmin themselves, as well as the onions, Candypop Buds, and the Mamutas, as they all seem to be connected to each other. Anyway, let's get right into it. Let's first talk about Pikmin, of course. Pikmin come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but that doesn't really matter to what we're talking about today. Nintendo themselves has stated many times that Pikmin follow whoever plucks them out of the ground. The most notable example of this would be the US advertisement for Pikmin 1.
Here we see a wild Pikmin in its natural environment. These strange creatures become attached to whoever pulls them from the ground, loyal and obedient.
In Pikmin 1, Olimar was the first to discover the Pikmin, who seemed to be in distress of some kind, as all the onions you found in the game were all deactivated. Anyway, Olimar used the Pikmin's many abilities to help him retrieve his missing ship parts, which, in turn, let the Pikmin be able to fend for themselves against the many creatures on PNF 404. Also, it should be noted that we see a bunch of onions at the end of Pikmin 1, which Olimar definitely didn't activate. So it doesn't seem like the Pikmin were on the brink of extinction, except for maybe a few onions. However, Olimar definitely did help the Pikmin learn how to fight for themselves. Anyway, in Pikmin 3, we can see many murals and other drawings made by the Pikmin, even snowmen, which we can also see in Pikmin 2. We can also see dirt walls that resemble sandcastles. I'm assuming the Pikmin also made these in order to keep out creatures from entering spaces in which the Pikmin would live and thrive in. Definitely the most interesting of these murals are the ones that were added in Pikmin 3 Deluxe, the ones that show Olimar as some kind of god or saint. These murals depict Olimar holding some kind of glowing ball. It kind of looks like the sun that is on the sun meter in all three mainline Pikmin games. The reason they likely think of Olimar as some kind of god is because, to them, he came down from the heavens, and he was the one who taught them how to fend for themselves. Because of this, likely, the Pikmin passed down stories of Olimar and became sort of a religion, if you will. But, in reality, Olimar really just landed there. He isn't some kind of god. Olimar even hints that these murals were made by the Pikmin themselves, which adds some credibility to my theory. Interestingly, there is a snowman that resembles the President of Pocket 8 Freight in Pikmin 3. Does this mean that they think the President of Pocket 8 Freight is a god as well? I'm not so sure, but maybe we'll get more murals of the President in Pikmin 4. That's all I have to talk about when it comes to the Pikmin themselves. However, if you have anything you want to share with me, please let me know in the comments down below. Next, I want to discuss the Pikmin onions. These are pretty much the nests for the Pikmin, and can seemingly hold an infinite amount of them. Like I said before, the onions in Pikmin 1 were all deactivated until Olimar came across them, then they suddenly activated for whatever reason. The onions in Pikmin 3 are also deactivated, however they seem to be deactivated for a different reason, as they don't automatically activate as soon as you approach it. It also seems like onions need a sufficient amount of light to live, as the yellow onion in Pikmin 3 only activated when a light bulb inside the cave was switched on. Also, have you ever noticed how each Pikmin game has a brand new onion design? It could be just different designs, however, maybe they're different breeds of onions, different stages of development, maybe the onions are evolving in some way? Who really knows? Another thing I should point out is that onions have been shown to be intelligent throughout the series. The greatest example that I can think of is the onion in Pikmin 2 that releases a seed for Louie even though there are already 5 red Pikmin on the field. The onion itself must have known that Louie needed a Pikmin to reunite with Olimar, so it gave Louie a Pikmin to use. We also see that whenever a Pikmin extinction occurs, the onions will release a single seed, so the species will propagate once again. Also, in side stories, Olimar says that the onion didn't make it to the formidable oak. Is this because the onion didn't want to go there because it thought it was too dangerous to land inside of the formidable oak? Anyway, there are still a lot of unanswered questions that I have. Are the onions related to the Pikmin? Did the Pikmin build the onions? Did the onions form a symbiotic relationship with the Pikmin? I'm just not sure, but if you have any theories or anything that I missed, please let me know in the comments down below. The final thing that is directly related to the Pikmin would be, of course, the Candypop Buds. These convert any Pikmin that are thrown into them into whatever color that the Candypop Bud is. Olimar says that the Candypop Buds are intrinsically linked to the Pikmin's reproductive system and is also obviously related to the onion in some way. In both Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2, Olimar states that the Candypop Buds could be the next stage of Pikmin evolution, or that they could be a different variety of Pikmin entirely. Olimar also says that the Candypop Buds might be an example of a plant that has small leaves, and thus has limited photosynthetic capabilities, which would mean that they have to have alternate means of obtaining nutrients, such as parasitic or predatory behaviors. This could mean that while it does benefit the Pikmin, it also benefits the Candypop Bud, as it is able to extract nutrients from the Pikmin that are thrown into it. One last thing with the Candypop Buds, Louis describes the Crimson Candypop Bud as a spicy flower, and says that it combusts upon contact with the tongue. This could mean that each Candypop Bud shares the trait with its respective Pikmin, though every single other Candypop Bud does not share a trait with its respective Pikmin, so this is unlikely. Finally, we have to discuss the Mamuta and the Smoky Progg. Mamutas are made out of rock and have short white hairs covering their entire body. Apparently, they enjoy the presence of flowers, but only as decoration. The Mamutas are obviously somehow related to the onions, given that the armband-like attachment of the Mamuta looks highly similar to the markings on an onion. Now, my next theory is a little far-fetched and out there, but in Olimar's notes for the Mamuta, it states that the Mamutas are the only known species to cultivate fields of plants. Now, this may be a bit out there, but what if the Mamutas were created by humanity to take care of vegetation when humans went extinct? I even have some evidence to support my theory. In Pikmin 1, and only in Pikmin 1, Mamutas will take a rest whenever you do enough damage to them. When they take a rest, they make a strange sound. It almost sounds like a broken gas mask. Take a listen. The sound effect itself isn't actually a broken gas mask or anything like that. It's actually the sound of metal squeaking. It's actually slowed down in the game a lot. Here's the actual sound effect in the game's files. This sound effect that the Mamuta makes doesn't sound natural at all, so I think it adds some credibility to my theory. Anyway, let's move on to the Smoky Progg. It is apparently a malformed larval Mamuta that wasn't able to complete the transformation. Staring into the Smoky Progg's back, you can see a strange glowing orb inside of it, which glows through both of its eyes. The Smoky Progg leaves a trail of poisonous gas that will instantly kill your Pikmin. When the Smoky Progg is released from its egg, it will make a beeline for your onions at your base, and will go to these onions and release a loud roar that results in any Pikmin that are buried in the ground being uprooted. Upon death, the Smoky Progg drops a green pearl that can be used to spawn 100 Pikmin. That's all we really know about the Smoky Progg, however I do have a theory as to why it is malformed. You see, in order to actually fight the Smoky Progg, you need to go up to its egg and break it open in order for the Smoky Progg to either come out, or you can just completely destroy the egg and annihilate the Smoky Progg altogether. However, after day 15, the egg is just completely gone. Where did it go? Well, it likely transformed into a Mamuta since Olimar wasn't there to disturb the egg and cause it to be born malformed. Also, the markings that surround the Smoky Progg's egg are highly similar to the ones that are in the formidable oak. Are the Smoky Progg and the Plasm Rife somehow related in some way? I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, these landing markings are in every single mainline Pikmin game. They're very abstract and weird. I wonder who made them and what their purpose is. If I had to guess, I would say the Pikmin, of course, since they're the only other creature we have seen who have drawn other things. In fact, some of the sand walls look incredibly similar to the design of some of the landing markings. The Pikmin might have made these crop circles in order to designate where an onion should land. However, the wild onions in Pikmin 2 were nowhere near these crop circles, so I guess I could be wrong. And in Pikmin 3, the Drake has its own crop circles, which is even weirder. Anyway, in Pikmin 1's bad ending, the Pikmin seem to carry Olimar's lifeless body back to the onion, which, of course, picks it up and uses it to create a special seed. It's not a regular Pikmin, it's more like a hybrid. I'm not really sure what to make of this at all. Finally, at the end of Pikmin 2, we see the Pikmin glowing, and they're actually kind of transparent for some reason. It's very strange. We never see the Pikmin like this again. I'm not sure what to make of this either. However, I could compare it to in Pikmin 1, the Pikmin were pale whenever they were idle. So maybe this is just like that, and it's just something that Pikmin can do, but they just choose not to. Well, that's all for this video. Before I go, though, make sure to check out Violet Crest, as they make great Pikmin content. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!